Welcome to the Shifting Focus podcast. My name is John Bunn, and if you're new here, thanks for joining. I'm a wedding photographer and filmmaker trying to bring you the most information, the most useful information for you and your business. We're all about helping you focus on things that actually matter in your wedding business. So I'm pumped. Today is a big one for me. Bucket list item, maybe, if you will. I had Michael Cassara from the Vendor Table podcast on. He's based in Long Island, wedding photographer. We went for the better part of an hour, planned for about 30, 35 minutes, and honestly, I just couldn't stop. It was that good. It was a great conversation. We dug into his business, how he has, shifted his focus, added the vendor table, how that got going, just kind of talk about all the things, customer service and him going viral on social media recently, and just how he continues to fill his calendar 15 years into his business. So I'm not going to lie, you're going to want to listen to this one maybe twice. It's that good. I'm pumped about it, and I can't wait for us to chat about it. Before we get into today's episode, I do want to talk about my friends over at john-bunn.com/outsourcing. There's a link in the show notes, but if you are a wedding filmmaker and you are in backlog, I have the tool for you. I have a list of some of my favorite outsourcing partners so that you can give them your footage. They will edit your films for you so you can save that precious time to focus on that client experience. Once again, that's john-bunn.com/outsourcing. I know that URL sucks. I'm working on a new one, but for now, that's where it's at. You can click the link in the show notes, see the full list as we get going here today. So without further ado, let's listen to our episode and jump in with Michael from the Vendor Table and Michael Cassara Photo. Hey, Michael, why don't you say hello? Tell me who you are, a little bit about you.
Hey guys, I've been a wedding photographer for around 14 years. I'm based in the Long Island area, Long Island, New York. One of the one of the meccas of wedding photography. We have around like 400 weddings and events go on every weekend around here. It's one of the most expensive places to get married. Has probably its most saturated industry over here. But we border New York City, and so that's a lot of people know Long Island for the Hamptons and the beaches and Montauk and all that stuff, and that's the side that I cater to. Also the co-host of the Vendor Table podcast, which we're going on almost a year. We've been doing this 2.5 years, which is a wedding podcast. It started as a wedding photography podcast. Now it's a wedding podcast where we share, like the behind the scenes of the industry, like the dirty side, the stories and I always say the smut and stuff like that. So we have fun with it. It's a lot of user submissions and stuff. So that's a little bit of what I do and who I am and all that stuff.
Yeah, I came across you about that time a couple of years ago, like out of nowhere, this Vendor Table podcast. I start seeing all these viral clips. I'm like, who are these people with these hot takes reading these comments? And it's like, oh man, this is so entertaining. And people sharing back and forth videos. It's like, hey, did you see this clip from the Vendor Table? Whatever. It seems like it's grown crazy, crazy fast. I'm excited to dive into that. But before we do that, so you're in Long Island. You're up there, you're doing about how many, are you still shooting weddings? How many are you shooting? What's your business kind of look like today?
Yeah, so I shoot around 30 to 35 weddings a year. 2026, I'll be only taking around 25 or so. Getting older, kind of want to slow it down a little bit. It's fun. But yeah, I'm an active wedding photographer. I'm not an educator that doesn't do weddings and, all that stuff. I don't educate either. I'm not right now to this day, I'm a wedding photographer. This is what I do full time. I do 35 a year around there. That's what I'm doing this year. But I also do portrait sessions, branding, a lot of branding shoots and stuff like that for companies, things that I have to sign NDAs for and stuff like that. But it's fun, man. I love photography in general is just a blast. So I can't believe this is my job. It's wild to me.
That's sometimes I have to pinch myself. I had what I would consider a rough weekend this last weekend. I did a wedding up in New York, actually, and flight got canceled Thursday. Had to come out on Friday. Got in at midnight Friday to drive up to Lake Placid for a wedding and upstate. And anyway, I landed at 12:30 in the morning. Had to be shooting at 10 in the morning. Then the next day I'm supposed to be flying back, it gets canceled. So I
Oh,
get back last night and all this different stuff. It's like a pain in the butt, but it's like, wait a second, I think I just got 10 grand to go do that. So I'm okay.
yeah.
Like, and I have to pinch myself too. And, so a little bit more about your photography side of stuff before we get into the vendor table. You got into it like 15 years ago, that sort of thing. You said you still pinch yourself. Like what actually, I feel like I remember you talking about doing film school or something like that.
Yeah.
Like what got you into all of this? Like what's like the genesis of you getting going into this
Oh my
industry?
God, I'll keep the story kind of condensed because it's a long
Thanks.
one. But I went to film school in 2007 to 2009, Hofstra, like Hofstra University, and I wanted to be a filmmaker. I actually wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. That's what I went to school originally to be. Got a job straight out of college, which was during the recession, so I was very lucky. In North Carolina, moved down to North Carolina. I worked for a boutique marketing agency, filming like corporate video, essentially. I was their director of photography. It was okay, but it opened me up to the experience of working and all of that. I filmed in I think 7 countries and 17 states in a year. So I traveled, got the miles in, the airfare and all that stuff. But during that time, the Mark II came out. The Canon 5D Mark
Mm.
II had
Oh,
just come out.
I remember that.
And, the Canon 5D Mark II is, like, revolutionary. That was the camera that, really got me really interested in the photography. I did photography. I minored in photography in school, digital photography and stuff like that. But I was, like, always like, "I'll take a couple photos." I wasn't like, really super, super, super into it. But when I got the Mark II, I was using it for video. I was using it for my job and everything like that. But I had discovered how good it was as a still camera. And I started taking photos of friends, family members, stuff like that. Like my cousin's girlfriend at the time was a Miss North Carolina contestant, so she knew how to model and like always wanted photos. So like I go over, hang out with my cousin, everything like that, and like her and her friends were all Miss North Carolina contestants taking photos of pretty girls. I was just like, this is kind of easy. And then one of them was getting married, and they were like, hey, like, would you ever want to do bridal portraits? And like, bridal portraits are big down south where, it's just a bride showing up and in her dress, hair and makeup done, and you do some bridal portraits. So I started taking bridal portraits. I then decided like, hey, like the corporate route wasn't for me. I didn't want, I didn't want to do this job anymore. So I moved back home to Long Island. Um, was doing some odd jobs and stuff like that. And my mom knew somebody at a wedding, like an all-in-one wedding studio type thing. Okay, so these are the places that do like you could buy your dress, your limo, your photographer, your videographer, all that stuff, right? Like she knew this guy that owned it. It was in Queens, and it was like, you need a job, you need to do something. Like, what's do it. So I worked for this guy as like basic lighting assistant, and then started doing like second photography because I had cameras and stuff like that. I only had one camera, crazy. But like started doing that, and then I worked for another studio. Like I got another job as like because I started doing that. I had like a portfolio starting to build up, and I was doing that like kind of on the side. All in this time, I was still looking for a 9 to 5. I had found my 9 to 5, which I worked actually at the Tiffin company for around 9 years. A lot of people know Tiffin from Tiffin filters, Steadicam, Domke camera bags. They own all of that stuff. So they're based out of here on Long Island. And so I started like my corporate journey essentially, and doing wedding photography on the side because it was kind of fun. Um, I built a little portfolio. I wasn't allowed to really share anything, and social media wasn't big then. So I had like a little backlog, I had a website and everything like that. And all of a sudden, like in 2012, a couple reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we really like your work. We're getting married. Like we'd be interested in hiring you." And that was 2012, 2013, I think it was. Shot my first wedding. That one wedding led to two, two led to four, four led to six, and so on and so forth. I never really advertised my business because I was very content with my corporate marketing job at the time, and I really enjoyed doing that. And then around 2018, I had a couple write me this glowing review in this bridal group, and I had received from that review, I want to say like 50 inquiries, something like that. And like right around that time, I was kind of like at a crossroads of my career. I was just like, I didn't know if I want to stay corporate and stay in that corporate route, like be a suit. I was on path to be a vice president and all that. And I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And that review came at like such a interesting time because it was 2019 and I was like, you know what? Let's see if I could do this. So I started meeting with clients and every single one of them booked me. So I had like 20, every client I met with, it was like 20 couples had booked me. I had booked my calendar out for 2020. So I was like, I'm leaving 2019. Like I'm leaving end of 2019. I put in my resignation 2019 and decided to go off on my own. And I was so excited, everything like that. And what happens in 2020? COVID. So the industry kind of like goes for a loop. But what I had set myself up for success with my business by the way I structured payment plans. I did all this stuff. I had couples like reschedule. Like 2020, I was still working. And what's crazy was if I stayed corporate, I would have lost my job. They had excess and they had furloughed people and they didn't have people come back. And I was at that level where I wasn't making enough money and I was like making too much money to like be kept. And I wasn't a lower tier employee. So they kept all the lower tier and they got rid of all the middle, kind of thing. So it was like, you know what? Like I made the right choice and my business just skyrocketed from there. I had I think 47 weddings in 2021 from the reschedules and then consistently booking probably 30 to 35 weddings every year since then. I normally up until this year was being booked out by June every year for the following year. This year has been a little slower. I think the whole industry has seen that, but I'm booked out now. My books are closed and everything like that. So that was like my journey, like from a whole thing. So it went from corpo to now full time, and I'm so glad I did. I would never do it. I would never take anything back. Is what I'm trying to say.
Wedding filmmakers, do you know the feeling? You've got a mountain of footage and backlog that just won't quit. That's where Wanderlust Videos comes in. Their team can handle it all, from import to export, and my favorite part, they nail my style and color grading every single time. It's like having an extension of my own creative brain. Head to john-bunn.com or check the show notes for 10% off your first order. Wanderlust Videos. Stop drowning in edits and let them take your films to the next level. I can only imagine having, just kind of like you had just kind of gotten out on your own and then everything shuts down. What was that like? You said you kept things afloat. Like were you still able to shoot? Was everything, or what was that like for you in that time?
A lot of things kind of condensed into smaller elopements happen in the Northeast, especially in our area, like micro weddings and elopements didn't really exist. It was always a big wedding. Everyone had a big wedding. So you wouldn't have the couples that were getting married in their backyard unless it was a 200-person wedding. So what I started to see was the couples that wanted to get married kept their date. They downsized the wedding. They may have left the venue, but they decided to do something small. Backyard weddings, park weddings, things like that, where social distancing could take place. And, they were 50 people weddings. Those packages really didn't change for me because I was still covering a 10-hour day. I was still doing engagement shoots. I was still doing all that stuff. All the while, during 2020, people were going about their business. They were we'll be back in 2021. I'm going to book my 2021 wedding. So I had couples that were moving their dates and couples booking for 2021. So I was making money. I also structure my business with a payment plan. So a lot of this is a tip for, I think, a lot of people out there, but a lot of photographers take a large deposit and then the final balance. I don't do that. I take a smaller deposit, usually $1,000, and then I do a middle payment that's at the halfway point, or in the slower months. So I don't really shoot January, February, March, April. So a lot of my couples' payments are due during those times, and that payment's usually $2,000. Then their final balance is due 2 weeks prior to their wedding day. So during the slow season, I was making money. I was fueled during COVID. I was still making money. People were still submitting payments. And if the couples couldn't because of financial restrictions due to the pandemic, due to what was going on, I gave them extensions and they were able to pay it within, 60 days. And I was still making money. So like a tip for anybody that's structuring their business, I think like you don't want to take a big retainer because the people that did cancel, like I didn't give them their retainer back because it was $1,000 and they were like, okay, he reserved the date and everything like that. I didn't really have to refund too much money. I refunded like I think around $12,000 of middle payments of people that canceled. So it didn't hit me hard financially. So if you structure your business the right way, you could stay afloat for a long time through a
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's something for sure that I point people towards, and I think that a lot of us in our business are like, "Well, we can't make them make a payment in January. Their wedding's not until August." It's like you absolutely can make them make a payment. You should make them, especially, just a simple spreadsheet where you can see all your payments through the year and being like, "Hey, February is short. The next wedding I book, I'm going to make them have a payment in February." Whatever, like just kind of being on your own terms is so important. So,
100%.
you get going through the pandemic, you're into 2021. It feels to me like the pandemic just happened, and I'm, like, talking to people that it's like, they started their business 3 years after the pandemic, or they're
Oh my
like, "Wait a
God.
second, wait, what? How?" Like, that just happened, like, it
Oh my
feels
God.
like we're still needing to wear a mask.
Hmm.
And so you get kind of through that 2021, you got 40 plus weddings, you're moving through that. All this time, obviously, you have a background in film and photo, and you're learning, you're growing. Tell me a little bit about like the progression of your business since the pandemic towards today. Like what's changed? What have you kind of really started focusing on as you become, a veteran, an old person in the industry, or whatever you want
Oh
to call it?
yeah, I'm
Like,
an old dog, baby.
yeah, same, same. I'm here,
That-
and you've been here for 15 years, whatever. So like, what kind of changed? What did you really start focusing on so that you could sustain your business post
That's such a
pandemic?
great question, John.
Thanks.
Like I always try to learn something new every year. Like always trying to better my craft. I think that, like if we as photographers, as creatives, if you just stay and plateau, like you're never going to get better if you don't want to learn. So every year I try to learn something new. Like one year it was like flat lace. Big joke with me and Josh Huggett is like, all that stuff, but learning how to craft flat lace every year. I kind of want to give my clients a better experience. Like crafting a overall client experience is something that's like really important to me. So like I'm always trying to up my game. Like photography in general, like I'm always trying to get better at photography. I'm always trying to learn, new lighting tips and like, techniques and stuff. Like this year, haven't shied away from hard direct light. Like in years past, I was always afraid of it. Now I'm embracing it. And some of my favorite photos this year are in harsh direct light, which is crazy to me because last year Mike would have been like, "What the fuck you doing?" Kind of thing. This year that was been my focus. The year like before that, I've been like, what I focus on, like a little bit better of a client experience in certain areas, getting better on the back end of my business. So every year. I try to learn something new or get better at something. Like every year I'm trying to evolve in like my business and as a professional. There's so many things that like I think like I try to say, but like yeah, like I've also tried to clean up my editing to make it be a little bit more consistent and timeless at times. Like I see, I look at photos like I'm sure you do too. You look at the videos and photos from like 5 years ago, and you're like, what the hell was I doing, man? Oh my god, like you people like these? Like what is wrong with you? So like I'm always trying to like get better, so like things stay like you could look back at your photos in 10 years and be like, like I really love my wedding photos. Like look at those are timeless. So I think that's where I'm at right now is trying to make my work feel timeless is like a big goal for I have this year going into next year.
Yeah, that's something I've seen a lot of people. A lot of my couples have, said, "Hey, I'm reaching out to you because your work feels timeless. It doesn't feel trendy." I remember right before the pandemic, it was really like on the video world was very much like all the greens were very brown. It was very like earthy and very,
Yep,
and
and
I
too
just kind of,
saturated. Yep.
yeah, I just kind of kept doing what I was doing. I was like, I like classic. I want to stay like, I don't want to be like, that was a photo or video from 2018 or,
Hmm.
and for the first like 2007 to 2017, I think I had about 10 different styles that I did. When I started, selective color was really
Oh
a
God,
big thing.
John, bringing it back. The Flickr days. Yeah, selective
Uh,
color.
my
orange and
very
teal, like the
yes. Oh,
2015s and
mm.
stuff. Oh man.
Yeah, man, it was I mean, the very first wedding, I would go black and white minus, like, the roses, they'd be red or, like,
Oh.
things like that. It was very, that kinda stuff too, but as things have evolved, I've learned principles about, like, running this wedding business that, like, it it is very important to have really pretty work and really good work, but I've learned that, oh my goodness, I'm in the customer service business. I'm
Hmm.
in the how can I give people a quality experience more so than the photos themselves, the videos themselves. And at the beginning, I didn't really care about that. I thought, okay, the 6D came out, and then the 5D Mark II came out, and then the 5D Mark III came out, and it's like, oh, I got to get this gear. I gotta. That's the edge that I need. And as I've bumped into weddings over 20 or $30,000 for just video or whatever, no one's asking me what cameras I'm using or if I like I need to know that. I need to be able to have those wow photos, those wow images. The videos have to, be amazing, but the experience that they have is what gets them at the higher level to tell their friends. And so you said customer service, client experience, that sort of thing. Uh, Unpack that a little for me. Like, what are you doing that you feel like, what are some tips and secrets that you may be doing or wish you were doing for the customer's experience?
I think that's a big reason I have a high success rate with booking is because of like I put myself into my business. Like like I've talked a lot about that on the vendor table, and like we've talked to like a lot of people through the industry. Like I know we share a lot of mutual, like Lauren Ashley and like Josh Huggett, and they like the one thing I think a lot of photographers are preaching today is that you have to put your personality into your business. You have to show yourself. So I've put myself a lot more out there on social media. I had always done it in the past with like stories and like things like that. I was like 2017, 2018, I was like always trying to show myself once in a while. But now more than ever, I think showing your personality is so important to these clients. Like we ran a poll that basically said, what's the number one thing that clients want to see with like from their vendors? And it was all like, I want to see you like in your work. I want to see who you are. I want to see your personality. So putting myself out there is a big factor. I will post reels where you could like see how I talk to clients, see how I work, see how like I'm moving throughout the day. I'll post like condensed wedding days where you see how I interact and how I'm prompting and posing. These are all things that I think are super important today because you have a lot of clients that want to see that. They want to see if they're going to fit with you before they even inquire. And I'm knocking that out right on my social media. My website gives a lot about me. It's very personable and stuff like that. But social media is where a lot of people get to know you before they even inquire. So you have to have something out there that shows you. And I encourage vendors to do that. That is probably the number one thing that I've done that has really shown, like, has really helped grow my business and show the success.
That's huge. I remember, I don't know, 2012 to 2017 being a male in the industry, being terrified to show myself. I had a
Hmm.
different name than John Bunn Films. I had like I kind of my face was nowhere. I wanted them to inquire after they've seen my work, not knowing I was a guy. Like I don't know why I was afraid to be a guy in the industry. I just felt like brides wouldn't want to reach out to me. I have no idea,
Hmm.
but that no data behind it. I just was scared. And I remember making a choice. It's like, kind of like going to the gym. It's like, I want to be fit. What are fit people doing? I'm
Hmm.
going to make that choice. I'm going to do that for a long time. And then one day I'll be fit. And I saw a good photographer friend of mine, who was local. He did all the expensive weddings, and
Hmm.
I was like, what are you doing? And it's like, I looked over his page. It was all about him. And on the wedding day, like, he was so personable and such a great experience. And I was like, I want to give that to people. And what they saw on the behind the scenes of him, like reels didn't exist then, but like that was what they got in person. And the
Yeah.
mother of the bride loved him every time, and the family, he knew all their names. I'm like, why do you care about the mom's name? Why do you? And he like took me under his wing, and he was just like, look, the clients at this level experience all kinds of amazing things in their life, and if you're not giving them that same quality, you're not gonna relate to them, and he's like, "Go to a five-star resort, just hang out at the bar, do something, like, be around the people, go to the Louis Vuitton store, head to Vegas, go like, just be there and see how people are in." I really started studying books and podcasts on the experience that we give people, and I was like, "I'm doing that thing." I did that for years, and then what do you know? I'm getting to charge the amount, and it had nothing to do but everything to do with my photos as well as my video, and it was like they had to be good, but they wanted to see me first, and that's something, I don't know, I think people miss that mark all the time.
Yeah,
So
you give a good customer service experience. Like if you're giving a good customer service experience, sometimes that outweighs the photos because people like will be like, "I had a blast with him. I had a great time." Like, you know what? Like the photos, they're great. They're really good. They're like exactly what I wanted and stuff like that. But they'll look back also on the experience that they had with their wedding photographer or their videographer and be like, you know what? Like they're awesome. Like I'm gonna keep coming back. I have clients that are 12, like that been clients for 12 years. I've done family photos every year, and since, and like I developed relationships. I've gone to family functions, events. Like my main second shooter was a bride first, and like just shot her sister's wedding in Ireland last year. I went with the whole family. I got to know the whole family and stuff like that. Like they booked me for everything. So like that's the kind of relationship, like, if you're putting yourself into your business and, like, people connect with you and you're attracting those, like those people that are a good fit personality-wise, it makes the day go so much better. It really does, and it's gonna make your experience better. It's gonna make you want to come back for more. Like, I always equate it to, like, in this industry, like, especially with photography, you get one good photo, right? And, like, and it makes you wanna come back and get another one. It's just like golf, like, you hit a really
mhm.
good shot, you get 100 bad ones, and, like, but you hit that one good shot and like you're hooked, you keep coming back. It's the same thing with like this industry with clients, is like you have that one client that you connect with, and you get that money shot of them, bam, man, like it hooks you and you just keep coming back. So it's a lot of fun that way.
I think it's interesting what you just said about, uh, attracting more of your, ideal type buyers. Because what I've noticed, and maybe you can talk on this, Mike, the more that I have shown myself and what I care about and what's funny to me and what's my personality and like me like my story right now today is me, a photo of me at the wedding I just did in New York last weekend with the photographer. Just I'm sharing stories about my travel, all the things. Um, More and more people that feel like they know you start and really relate to that are the ones that start reaching out to you. And so it actually becomes easier. It's like you've made an investment that's like spitting off returns. Have you noticed that in your business? Like the more that you've shown yourself, how's that affected your business?
Oh, 100%. It's huge for me. It's like anytime I put myself out there or like show something, especially like in this day and age, reels and TikToks are huge. Like, I mean, like if you're not, I think if you're a wedding vendor, I don't care how old you are, you're not utilizing TikTok, you are at an extreme disadvantage. Because TikTok that's where the new generation is flocking to. Like Gen Z is getting married, so they want to see that stuff. They're looking at TikTok more than Instagram for inspo and for things like that. So there's been a couple of reels. Like I always say this, like especially with like how I put out reels, is I want to show myself, but I also want to show what I do. And there's a lot of people put themselves out there and they'll make a fun little TikTok and like do like a dance or like be like, it's funny. It's like, wedding photographer humor and all this stuff, right? Is that attracting clients? The answer is no. What's going to attract clients? What's going to attract clients is your personality as well as showing what you do. So, meta glasses became a thing as of 2 years ago, I think. And that has been such a great investment for wedding pros because they could show your perspective and show what you produce. So, over the last, I'd say, since 2024, since when I got the meta glasses, I have showed myself, my personality in my work while also showing my work. And
So
that's what
good.
people love. They love the behind the scenes of the wedding day. They love seeing the perspective. They love seeing the result captured. Like, I always flash the result on the screen as I'm capturing it, so they know it's instant satisfaction. So that way, like, they're not waiting to the end of the video. They're seeing it in real time, what I got. And I swear people love that stuff. Every time I post a reel that shows me like engaging my couples, I just did one. It has like 120,000 views of me just guiding and prompting my couple, having a blast, having fun. 25 leads from that reel. 25 leads and probably 3 weddings booked. Okay. Like at an $8,000 average. Like, that's what I charge. So that's $24,000 worth of business from a minute and a half reel, like showing my personality and business. So I encourage creatives, especially wedding pros, to show themselves, but also show what they are producing and show how you're doing it, because that is the way you're going to attract the clients today.
You know how much I love shooting weddings, but you know what I don't love? Wasting hours culling and editing. That is why I use Imagine.ai. It's literally learned my style. It culls my photos, edits them, and even opens them in Lightroom with the sliders exactly where I'd want them. And now they're in beta for video color grading, which is an absolute game changer. Stop wasting time and get back to doing what you love. Check the show notes to grab 1,500 free edits today. That's such good advice. And that kind of leads me to the next question I was going to ask you. In the last month or so, you had, I know on Instagram, I don't know if on TikTok, but on Instagram, you had a reel specifically really go kind of wild. I remember seeing you say, I've got 2 million views, or 3 million views, or 5 million. And if you dissect what you just said, it's a reel where, you're sending a couple out on a boat, and it's showing you and your perspective, and they're on the water, and it's like the shot you've got to get, and like they scoot out in the water, and you get the aerial shot from above them, and boom, nothing special. I mean, it was nice. It was a good photo. Don't get me wrong. It was great. It was above great. I don't want to disrespect you. It was awesome. But
No, I
but
got
the point is, there wasn't anything like super creative about the edit or
No.
the reel itself. It was just, you showed your perspective. Tell me, I remember, I think maybe you said it on your podcast, or maybe you said it in your stories. I can't remember. Like, you were almost going to not even post that or something. You kind of just threw it together. Tell us what the reel was. I kind of butchered it, but like, what's happened because of that specific reel? And was it worth doing? Would you do, like, are you trying to replicate that? Like, just kind of, because I think a lot of people are like, whoa, that reel has 6 million views, and they just kind of try to get views. But you mentioned bookings, and so I'd love to
Yeah.
just kind of tell me the story of how you decided to do this reel, what it was, and then what it's kind of produced for you.
Yeah, no, it was so it was a styled shoot. It was a creative project that I years in the making kind of thing. Like, I always wanted to get a top-down aerial perspective of a couple laying in a canoe. I always wanted to get that shot. I had seen it years ago, probably 10 years ago or something like that, when drones first came out, and I was always like, I want to get that photo. One day I'm going to get that photo of a couple in a canoe on, like, with lily pads and all this stuff, and it all came together. So I was just like, okay. I had posted the photos maybe a week and a half prior. They did really well, like 3,000 plus likes, like people like just like loving the photos and everything. And I was just like, you know what? Like, we had a content creator on site that day. She sent me a bunch of clips, and I was just like, let me just show this on TikTok, because like I didn't just want to post the photos to TikTok because they don't ever do well. So I was like, let me put a TikTok together. Well, I put the TikTok together, and it ended up exploding to 2 million 2 million views. And I was just like, one of my most viewed TikToks of all time. And I was like, wow, okay. I was getting a lot of leads from TikTok from that. I was just like, okay, I started to see the leads come in. Where'd you find me? TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. I was like, oh, cool. So I was like, screw it. I'll post it to Instagram too. Even though I posted the photos already, I'll post it to Instagram. Posted it to Instagram, and it did okay at first. It was like 15,000 views, 20,000 views on the first day. I was like, that's pretty good for like a reel. And then I woke up the next morning, and it had 300,000 views and like over 400 comments. And I was like, what is happening? Kind of thing. And then by the end of that day, it had over 1 million views. And I was just like, wow. And all the while, I'm looking at my inbox start lighting up. And I'm like, okay. All right, this is working. In the end, that video is now at 28 million views, on Instagram and Facebook combined. It's still at like 2.2 million, I think, on TikTok. So almost at 30 million views combined. It's led to, I think, around 120 inquiries from there. I've booked, I want to say 6 to 7 weddings from there. I booked out my calendar. So I was like, I booked a bunch of shoots from there. I had people like flying in from other parts of the US to do photos at that location. That location sold out all of their spots for the year, which was the goal of that photo shoot. The goal of that shoot was a styled shoot for that venue, who are the venue owners. They're former couple of mine, and I adore them. So the goal was to book them out and show their space. They booked out. So it did its job. I didn't think I would, explode. I didn't gain a ton of followers from that reel. I'll be completely honest. I think I gained like 1,200 followers from that reel. It wasn't a lot. I gained a lot on Facebook, which go on Facebook comments and just laugh at the comments. They're all negative. Every
Of
single
course.
comment, 90% are negative on that video. I don't get the concept, all this stuff. So going viral could be great. Okay. It could lead to great business, but it could also lead to the negative stuff that comes with it. People hating on you for no reason, people trolling you for no reason. People just, they don't like you, like they don't like what they saw. They don't like the result. Okay, fine. But you know what? If it did well and it led to business for me and it hasn't negatively impacted my business, then you know what? It did its job. But I think people want to go viral for the wrong reasons today. And they just want to get a follower base and stuff like that. I have 45,000 followers on Instagram. I have said this repeatedly. I've said this on the vendor table. I don't care what my number is there. Like I am not trying to have 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 followers. That is not my end game. My end game is to stay busy and booked. I want clients. So that's the thing. I'm trying to attract brides, grooms, couples. That is what I'm trying to attract more than anything. Most of the people following me now are photographers. And love you guys, but you're not my target demographic. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, if I became an educator, different story. But I'm currently, that's not the focus. So I think the focus, and I mentioned this earlier, but the focus when you post and you create the stuff is to, what is your target? What is your goal? And my goal with that, I checked every box. It was to bring exposure to the venue, did that. All right. Show my work, did that. Post a photo that I've always wanted to post, always wanted to capture, did that. The bonus, that was was to book, was to get bookings, and I did. So that, it's been fun. It's been a fun ride. It didn't explode me, in terms of I didn't gain 100,000 followers from it or anything like that. But at the same point, that was never the goal. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing all that. And it's fun to watch, as a fellow photographer, videographer, just like somebody that is getting the benefit of the consistency. You have been very consistent in your business for years and years and years. And it's that might have gone viral if you hadn't already posted a bunch on your Instagram or hadn't been consistent or which is great. And I tell people all the time, why are you posting that clip to go viral? Do you want to, I don't film crazy party weddings or photograph. My couples are a little more, in their 30s and established, and they want something elegant and nice. And so if a drunk groomsman is jumping off a house into a pool and taking his clothes off, it's that could go viral, but that's not going to attract the right kind of people for I want, a moment between a dad and a daughter where he breaks down and starts crying. And I want that moment where grandma, is the flower girl, or things that for me are yeah, family's really important. And so I'm always processing that clip could go viral, but that's not my goal. My end game, very similar to yours, is bookings, the right kind of bookings. Yeah, it's nice I think that I hear people a lot say, I don't care about the number. They always have more than 10,000 followers. And I
Mhm.
think that I think I'm at 15 or something. I don't care about the number anymore, but up until a certain certain, at least in a kind of a floor, I did care about a number. I think it's important. If they see that you have 40,000 or 400,000, I don't think it matters at that point. I think
Yeah.
that, but
Should
I
have a
also,
thousand. I feel like a
yeah,
thousand establishes credibility.
get yourself
It's,
to 1,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
like if you get yourself to 1,000, like I think you could establish yourself as a credible business owner. So like
Correct.
that's I think the floor. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I had 5,000 followers before we started the vendor table. Like 5,000. Like I have 45,000 now. Like a lot of it has come from the vendor table. A lot of it is from vendors in the industry and stuff like that. So like I do think you need to start somewhere. And that's a good floor. But like, clients can get intimidated by large followers, like follower accounts. Like my friend Lauren Ashley she's the most followed wedding photographer in the world. I know you interviewed her. Like I had asked her, I was just like she probably like not to say doesn't attract certain clients, but certain clients will probably be intimidated to approach her because
Absolutely.
of her follower base. And she knows that. Like, and like her market is high-end luxury weddings. So, she's getting approached by planners that are doing bidding and stuff like that. So that works in her favor. But like I think sometimes like when you have a high follower count, they could kind of be slightly intimidated by you. So,
Yes.
with somebody with a lower follower count, it's sometimes a little bit more personable. So, you got to look at it look at it from both perspectives, and I always say this is something that's really important, but look at it from the client perspective more than anything else. Like view it not from the wedding photographer lens, but view it from a bride or groom. What are they looking for? And like that's how I think every business owner should be doing it.
Yeah, I like that. And it's weird even with like I would consider myself having like in the sweet spot for my wedding video and photo brand, 14 or 15,000 followers. Like that's very established
That's
to the
awesome.
my
Yeah.
clientele, but also it's probably 3 or 4,000 of those are wedding professionals. But
Yeah.
um I was at a wedding in Cancun a couple weeks ago and a bridesmaid was like, "Where's your Instagram? I want to follow you." And I typed it in. She's like, "Holy crap, dude. I didn't realize you
Yeah.
were," and it's like, I'm not. I just a dude.
Yeah.
Like I've had it like so there is both sides of that. I do want to wrap up a point in my brain about your
Yeah.
styled shoot that I have an open loop in and my ADD is not letting me past it. But like um what you did by creating that, you had that shot in mind and your mindset seemed to be service based. You wanted to help somebody, you wanted to help the venue. It also double dipped and helped you kind of checkbox that
Mhm.
thing. It showed off the social media side of things, like you were saying, where it's like what you do and the result. It like did all these things. And then it booked you 8 weddings. Let's say they're 8 grand a piece. You've made, 60 grand off of that. And that just ladder rung number 1.
Mhm.
And I try to tell people this is like, just because you got 3 bookings from that reel, that is the beginning of a new branch on the tree of your business. That's an investment that's going to spit off more fruit the more that you go down that branch. I can't tell you how many weddings I can, trace back to that wedding I did in Italy for 3 grand and did it just because it was like an Italy wedding. And now it's made me hundreds of thousands, or that wedding
Mhm.
where, and so like, yes, you got 1,200 followers. Yes, you made, money today, but like if you're focusing on, hey, I'm playing chess with this. I'm doing things over time. And that's something that I feel like both of us have a little bit more of a luxury of being in this industry long enough and seeing the investment that you're pouring into your business by making those reels. Who cares if it gets 1,000 views or 2,000 or 500, whatever. Keep making those investments and you'll open up your portfolio one day and be like, "Oh my goodness, my investments have grown because I kept putting I kept investing a little bit every month, a little bit every month." And then you look back and you're like, "Whoa, I can retire, or I don't have to, push as hard." Or anyway,
Yep.
that was a loop in my brain. I had to get that
I
closed.
love that. No, it's great. It's so true though, because like you just don't know what's gonna like be the end game for you. Like you don't know what will land you that next client. So like putting yourself out there, putting stuff out there. Like I wasn't gonna post that reel. I was not gonna do it. I was like, I posted these already, and I did it. So I have said that repeatedly since that reel went viral. I literally have told people post the content, post your content, post what you got. You just never know. And like you never know what business it's going to get you. You just never know what it's going to bring in. It could bring in that client that's a repeat client that invests 20 to $30,000 into your business that will help you retire in the long run. Or you bring in that client that has a friends group that is 10 deep that they're all getting married and they all book you. So you're making 100 grand over the next 5 years. You know, it's crazy to think, but like that's the perspective that you need to have when you put out content, and like put out content for the right reasons. Do it try to attract the right people with your content. Remember, who are you trying to serve? What are you trying to attract? Those are all key factors. So yeah, 100% agree with
That's
you.
so good. How much time do you waste chasing down contracts, invoices, or trying to keep all of those client details organized? As wedding pros, we waste so much time, and that is where Inly comes in. It's simple, beautiful, and actually made for creatives. With Inly, you can send polished proposals and contracts, manage invoices, set up forms, and capture leads. And the best part, it's all in one dashboard. No confusing dashboards, no bloated features you'll never use, just a CRM that works with your business, not against it. Check out Inly.com and try it for yourself. And don't forget to check the show notes and use promo code JOHN for 10% off. Check out Inly today. Head over to the show notes and go to INLY.com. That's Inly.com today. That's so good. Okay, I could talk about this all day. I want to shift focus, no pun intended, to talk
See what
about
you did there? I see
you
what
see
you did
that?
there.
Just a little there you go, layup. The vendor table.
Okay.
My goodness. Okay, so you've mentioned it a little bit, but like most everybody listening will know what it is, have listened to it, are entertained. I listen to you while editing. I laugh, feel like I know you and Lauren. I know you guys. It's like, okay, you're my friends over there that I don't actually know too well quite yet. But tell me a little bit. You're doing your business just fine. How did this come about? Like, how did that come about?
Oh my God.
Give me a little bit of that. I mean, if you however much time you have, but I'd love to know
Yeah,
just
no.
kind of what it is and why you're pouring into it, and just anything
Oh
on
my
it.
God. So it's been a journey. Lauren and I got to know each other around 5 years ago, right during COVID. We just were admirers of each other's work. Like we're both in the industry. At the time, we were shooting very similar in terms of our styles and everything like that. And we just became Instagram friends, essentially, like just DM basis and everything like that. And I think it was like 2022, maybe 2022. I needed a second shooter, and she had worked for studios, and like she was an incredible wedding photographer. And I was just like, "Hey, would you ever want a second shoot?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So we second shot. She second shot for me, and at that wedding, we sat down at a vendor table, and we're having a lot of fun with each other all day. Like it was a great like working combination, everything like that. She was like, I always wanted to start a podcast, and I was just like, I always. Oh, in the back of my head, I did too. I had the mic and the equipment. I thought about streaming during COVID and all this stuff. I was just like, I can do that. Yeah, like that'd be. And so we started like, no joke. We had a note file on our phones, and we started sharing ideas, kind of thing. And then I'd say a month later, she was like, "So, would you actually want to do a podcast?" And I was just like, "Yeah, why not?" Like off season coming up and stuff like that. It was January, like we're slow. We both didn't have a wedding till April. So I reached out to my buddy Matt, who has a studio here on Long Island. Him and his wife are a photo video team. He does a lot of corporate stuff, and all that stuff. And I said to her, I was just like, the one thing that if we're going to do a podcast and we're going to try to do a podcast, I don't want to half-ass this. Let's invest some money into it. We got a little extra play money. I was just like, got a little money and invest in this. Let's put a little money into it and let's see what happens. Could be a great investment, right? So we approached Matt. Matt gave us his rate. He was like, this is what I could do for you. Table, chairs, set up, long form content, and then produce clips for you guys, like based around. I was like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like where we're looking for. So in March of 2023, we recorded our first 2 episodes, and the vendor table was born. It was born originally at a vendor table. We called it we didn't even have a name for it the first 2 episodes. So we literally thought about it. Like it took us a minute to find the name, and then we recorded 3 more after that. So we had 5 episodes in the can, and we're like, all right, we're gonna launch these episodes, see how it does, and go live with it. So we went live, and the one thing I said to Matt was, I was like, we need to have clips. We need to show the podcast on social media. I'm big fans of the Basement Yard. I don't know if the Basement Yard podcast, but I wanted the format to be similar to that. We had no idea what the structure of the podcast was going to be, by the way. That's the other thing. We didn't know if we were going to do photo education. We didn't know what we were going to talk about. The first episode, we were like, don't listen to it. Let's just put it that way. It's horrible. It's like, the intro and like we just didn't. The second episode was all about trends we love and hate, mostly hate. So we talked about like wedding industry trends and stuff like that, blurry photos, like what was popular like in 2023 and stuff like that. And like all these things. And like we were not hating on it, but we were talking and dissecting it from the lens of two photographers that are just kind of tired of seeing the norm and everybody saying everything's love and light and beauty and grace and all this stuff with the wedding industry. We're just like, well, you know what? Fuck that. Okay. Let's talk about the gritty side of things. That is where we found our footing. And then it just started happening. We posted the clips. We were posting at a consistent rate. And we just saw the flower base start to grow and grow and grow and grow. And the episodes start going up and up. And our goal was we were going to do 5 to 6 episodes and then probably shut it down because the season was starting. And we was like, well, this is actually starting to work. Let's put a little bit more into it, a little bit more into it, a little bit more. And I'd say around episode 20 was where we had our first viral moment. And then we saw a big spike. We gained 10,000 followers from that one viral moment. And then we watched it consistently grow from there. It was just, I don't want to say must-see TV, but everyone's tuning in every Tuesday. Everyone was like sharing the clips and like relating and the DMs. We like hundreds of DMs a day. Like people were like, this is so relatable. And this is like, it just became a relatable podcast for wedding pros. And it also shared tips, tricks, and advice for couples and vendors and all this stuff. And, like we just put our opinions out there. And with the love also comes the hate. So we get a lot of haters, we get a lot of trolls, and we turn them into merch. So it's fine. So we just have fun with it. At the end of the day, it's a fun project. It is a job now. Like it's a business. Like the vendor table is a business. We have a lot of demand to keep up with. We have sponsors of the show, stuff like that. So what was a hobby became a full-fledged business, just like my photography went from a hobby to a full-fledged business. So, that was the kind of the short, like kind of medium journey of the vendor table. And now like we're on episode 124. We just launched today and, been doing it like not as long as you, John, but, like over 2.5 years. It's been a fun ride, and it's led to great opportunities like hosting the wedding summit at WPPI, and like we're going to WIPA in Chicago, and doing all these things. So like we're pumped about it to see where it takes us in the future.
It's been so fun watching it. I'm not jealous at all of how fast it's grown and all that stuff, but it's fine. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, it is so relatable, and it's very similar to, what you're doing in your photo business. I mean, you're really appealing to your ideal listener, and the clips, you're asking for people to, answer questions, and you're reading their hot takes, and you're doing all this stuff, but at the same time, there is something just relatable about it. Like listening to you all talk about the weddings that you shot, and you're dealing with the same crap that, I dealt with last weekend, or it's, oh, these people, there's finally a voice for the thing. It's like you're saying the thing that most of us are feeling about, getting that crappy meal, or getting that, like that bride that was, a certain way to you, or whatever it is. And it is just entertaining. It's
Yeah.
enjoyable. And at the same time, it's like, oh, I picked up a nugget or two of like, I'm gonna do that with my contracts, or I'm gonna,
Yeah.
um,
It's relatable info. That's like what we like. It's relatable stories,
mhm,
information. That's what
mhm.
we try. We bring on guests that are relatable to the industry or can help. We have had educators on the show that are incredible. When we had Vanessa Joy, like Vanessa Joy has been one of my idols, like in the photography game. The fact I had her sitting at the table next to me was just like to this day, I freak out. I have literally text chains with her, and like now I talk shit to her about her obsession with the 28 to 70, and it's now a running gag. Like I literally have a gag with one of I would put her on the Mount Rushmore wedding photographers,
Mhm.
and like it's so funny to me that that's how it happened, and like people know us from it and stuff, and it's cool, and it's a lot. I also just want to tell people like, it's hard work. Anything you do, you build a business, it's hard. I was up till 1:30 in the morning last night cutting clips for the show, just to get a clip out today. And just to get like, stuff ready. Like I still do a lot of the stuff. I do market research. I do, I'm scrolling on Insta and TikTok to see the latest trends, and it's become a little easier with people tagging us and things now. So it's like if there's a story that pops up, I'm like, oh, the vendor table, tag in the vendor table. It's great. But at the same point, we have a large community, like, and we want to always make them happy. So the reason it grew was because of our input, and it is a business. It does need to be tended to, and it is hard work. So if you want something to grow, the more time and effort you put into it, the more rewarding it will be. So
Yeah.
I always
I have to do that a lot with my podcast too. People are just like, "Oh, that's a fun hobby." It's like I spend a lot of time, like we spend a lot of time preparing, getting things together, and different things like that. And so,
Mhm.
how have you with the vendor table and your 30 plus weddings? I know you're shooting less next year. How have you been able to manage both? Like, how are you keeping focus whenever you've got two successful businesses now? Because this is a personal question for me. I just want to know the answer because, I'm doing this. I'm doing.
Struggling, John. I'm struggling, dude. Like
Give me a secret.
I'm straight up, and I'm gonna be straight and blunt with you. It's a struggle. It's hard. Like I work probably 80 hours a week, probably more than that. Like like I work 9 to 3. I would say 10 to 3, 10 or 11 or 3 in the afternoon. My son's in pre-K, and he gets out at like 3 o'clock, and so I got to pick him up and stuff like that. So that's not a lot of time to do work. That's not a lot of time to edit and do all that stuff. I'm in peak season right now. It's a lot, man. So and then a podcast going on at the same time, like cutting clips, doing all this stuff. So I probably work about 10 to 12 hours a day. I'll put my kids to bed. I spend time with them. I shut my brain off probably right around 4 o'clock. I tend to my children. I go to see their activities. It's really nice. It's flexible. I get to put them on the bus in the morning, take them to school. You see them when they get home, spend time with them when they get home. But then when they go to bed, I usually pop right back in the office. My wife's a school teacher, so she's asleep by 9. So I pop in the office usually till 1 o'clock in the morning. I sleep maybe 5 hours a day. So it's hard right now. But it slows down and stuff like that. But I tell people this all the time. Listen, I'm not the best person to talk about scheduling and all that stuff because I don't live it right now. But I'm working on getting better at that stuff. I'm also really trying to let go of certain things. The hardest part of being a business owner, right, is letting go and giving it to somebody else and having them help you. I am not that guy, dude. I need a grip on everything, and it's just even Lauren tells me this all the time. Like it's just you need to let go, dude. Like let go. Let me do. Like she's been tremendous help with everything, and we have a really good partnership where we take care of certain things. I've had to give her more workload now, because I just can't do it. We hired a virtual assistant to help us. Our virtual assistant LT, she's amazing. She's helping us big time with the DMs and stuff. So you gotta sometimes let go to get your sanity back, and it might lose you some money, but it might gain you some in other areas because you'll be more productive. So yes, I'm trying to listen to my own advice here.
Yeah. Well, I'll send you this episode whenever it's done to let you listen to
Oh my
yourself
God.
and take some notes. No, I think that's so important. And as I talk a lot on the podcast here about the tension between being a creative and a business owner.
Mhm.
And I think it was Miles Whit Boyer said, I can't remember if it was him. If not, sorry, that
Oh, I love Miles. Great. He's awesome.
efficiency. Oh, he's so good. Efficiency is the killer of creativity, right? And so it's just like if you're so efficient and you're so everything is very efficient on the wedding day, you've got your shot list, you've got boom boom, we do this pose, then this pose. It's so efficient, but it's not creative at all. And there's this tension pulling between the two, and that really kind of messed me up because I like to hold on to things too, and I know that I'll do them the best, I care the most, that sort of thing. But it's I'm trying to be so creative that there's no efficiency because it's that little thing I can spend 8 hours doing that one little tweak to that thing or whatever. And then just finding the ability to say, I am not as important as I think I am.
Hmm.
And it might not be as good. It might not be an A plus plus, but you know what? An A plus or an A, like, in certain areas, and there's certain areas that it's like, there's no way I'm giving that up. I am going to be the
Yeah,
one recording on the podcast. I have to, I want to, this is my thing.
sure.
But if I can have somebody edit it and edit the clips, or someone, like using AI to help me edit my photos, or like just stuff. But it's hard. That's hard to do, especially whenever you're feeling this wave of, I mean, popularity, and people know who you are, and you're getting all these, it's like, oh, I get to speak at this thing and I get to do this thing. So I guess kind of my last question in wrapping up is like, um, what are you like when it comes to like the popularity of the show and balancing that? I'm a person, a people pleaser. I'm an Enneagram 3. I love attention. I love when people tell me I'm doing great. I'll do anything for someone if they think I'm Superman. Like I will
Hmm.
literally. Where do you stand with all of this attention that you're getting? 100,000 followers on Instagram for the vendor table, and 50K more on TikTok, and hundreds of thousands of downloads, and sponsors wanting to, like, it goes from 0 to 60 pretty quickly whenever your podcast grows. And so how are you kind of managing just the Z-list celebrity fame that you now have, and the getting pulled in different directions? And are you saying no to things, or are you not good at that? What's kind of your experience been with the viral popularity of the brand?
It's definitely it definitely pulls you in different directions, and it's kind of ties to the last thing, like with like balancing and you know shifting focus in other areas. Let's see what I did there. But like that's giving focus in other areas to other people, and letting them handle it has helped with that tremendously, because I'm pulled in 18 different directions. I'm also pulled in different directions by my family, and like that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Like they don't give a shit how many followers I have. Let's be
Right.
real. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't care. My wife takes me down a peg all the time. I'm like, hey, babe, like, look, I got a reel of 20 million views. Oh, that's cool. Great. Did you do this? No. Okay. Like all the time, dude. So like my wife is my biggest fan, and she's also the one that brings me back to earth all the time. Because like the worst thing you'd have in this industry is an ego. Like and that goes for everything. Like I am always going to be grounded. I'm always going to try to stay grounded. We were on a podcast, and they were like, "Oh, like do you use your, celebrity status to get things like, who I am," kind of thing. I'm like, "No one knows who I am. I don't give a shit. That's not what our goal is." The only thing is I do notice a lot of venue owners that are more on site, and they're very present, and they're always like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. You weren't there 2 years ago. Get the hell out of here," kind of thing. Um but so it does help in certain cases, but at the same point, like that's besides the point, I should say. But nah, it's just like, you got to focus in certain areas, right? Like you got to like point point your focus in the right way to certain things, and give like I guess it's like kind of like a pie chart. You got to divide and kind of like give certain percentages. So I'm trying to still maintain a great client experience. Like that is first and foremost. That is what pays the bills. My wedding photography pays the bills. Do I make money off the podcast? Yes, I do. Okay, for everybody listening, yes, the podcast makes money right now.
Whoa.
Okay, great. It didn't for a year, so you know what? Suck it, losers. No, I'm kidding. It took a long time, man, to like get out of the red with that. But like, it does make money, but it doesn't make me full time money where I could quit and go be a full time podcaster. Let's be real. Like that you one in 100 if you do that. But so wedding photography is my full-time thing. Like that is like my full-time focus. So I have to devote more focus to that than anything else. And everything else is like kind of like you have to divide that on a business level. Like, I say, like, I don't know how you do it, John, but like, lists help with this stuff. Planning schedules out, like, like I loved how organized you were even inviting me to the show, like how structured it was. You need that to be like a really efficient business owner today. is structure, is like, geez, structure really helps. So like I'm very structured in my day. Like I have notes for everything, lists and stuff like that. They're all on my desk in their position, and I check things off. So that shit helps. I don't know if that was your question. I've kind of went on a tangent, so I apologize.
No, I like it. I was on the ride. I was right there with you on the ride still. Just don't jump off. You'll be fine. No, I think that's huge. And yes, I have to obviously keep things structured, use as much virtual assistants or AI or different things as possible. But one thing I had to learn this year as I stepped out from how to film weddings to just running the brand on my own, is that I am running a successful video and photo business, and that is my top priority. It makes me the most. And I have to give myself grace, and that's a hard one, that I naturally wake up and think I can do 3 times more than I can do in a day. And I run from meeting to meeting, from thing to thing. I schedule things back to back where I'm sorry, I'm 5 minutes late because I was running 5 minutes late for the thing before. And it just, all this crazy chaos. And like I work from home, so like I walk out that door behind me and I'm in my family room, and like I don't have any time to decompress ever, and I'm not good for me, I'm not good for my family, I'm not good for, it's like, and so I had to like really get to a point to being like, okay, these are the big things I'm doing this week, and everything else has to be no, or I can pay somebody to do it. And after, I've been podcasting since 2018 now, and so I had to find ways to get ahead whenever, like, I have 7 more weeks in a row of weddings right now, and then I don't have anything until March. And so as it sits right now, I think I have 14 or 15 podcasts recorded. I'm ahead that many. They're in the can, they're ready to go. And that's been the hardest thing to do on top of, it's like, okay, I'm going to record 3 this week, 3 next week, 3, like, okay, getting those.
Huge.
But at the same time, staying present and relevant and all these different things and cutting clips. And it's like, I'm not doing everything I could be doing. I could be winning more. But this is for me to, number one, be a father and a husband and, a person of faith, the way that I want to be, that being most important. Okay, I got to be done and fresh at this time, and I've got to be present and not taking calls at this time. And I kind of made the promise to my wife. It's like, I'm going to be fully present when I'm working, and I'm going to be fully at home when I'm home. And that has, saying no has been so hard for someone like me. And so, a sponsor is like, hey, you're supposed to put out a video for me this week. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to do, I'm sorry. I didn't get to it. I failed. Oh, I hate that.
Prioritizing yourself is a big important thing. Like, I think for any person out there, any business owner, this doesn't even apply just to the wedding industry. It applies to life in general. Prioritizing yourself and the important things in life, I think, is the most important thing. I think like that's, if you're doing that, that's huge, because that's the hardest part, is doing that. And I struggle at it. I can't even say like I'm sitting here and I'm preaching. You know what? I struggle at it. I know a lot of people do. I'm not going to sit here and be like high and mighty and be like, yeah, you should do this and do that. Yo, I struggle at this shit all the time, man. Like it's tough. So like you need to be able to reevaluate and prioritize yourself and your personal things first. Like that's the most important thing, I think, in life.
Yeah. Whew, we got there. In an hour, we did it.
Nice, man.
No, cool. Before we head out for the day, I know people know you, but if they want to connect with you, where's the best place for them to reach out, say, hey, maybe they heard you on the podcast, or just follow along?
Yeah, sure. So at Michael Cassara Photo on all social media. So that's Instagram, TikTok. I'm on other places too. If you want to check out my website, it's michaelcassara.me. And if you want to check out the vendor table, we're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, at the vendor table on all social media.
Yep. I'll link it all below. I appreciate you so much taking the time. It really means a lot. I know that you've got a lot on your plate, and so I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
We podcasted. We did it.
Nice, dude. Very cool.
We podcasted. We did it. Thanks again, Mike, for being on today. It was fun to hear kind of the behind the scenes of you and your brand, your business, a little bit of behind the scenes at the vendor table. And listeners, be sure to go over, subscribe, and comment, and do all the things to the Vendor Table podcast. Give Mike a follow. Send him a DM over on Instagram. again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am so pumped about where this podcast is going. Kind of crazy, the guests that are jumping on, and it's fun to kind of just hear the more personal side of what they're going through, what they're focusing on. If this episode is helpful to you, do me a favor. If you're watching on YouTube, like it, give it a comment below. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or whatever, share this with someone else that's in the industry. I think this is the best way to really help grow this podcast and get the right people listening to it. If it's helpful to you at all, if I've added value to you, that's the only thing I ask today. It means the world to me. Before heading out, I do want to again mention my partners over at john-bunn.com/outsourcing. If you need outsourcing for your wedding films, there's a curated list ready to go for you, ready and vetted by me, so you can trust that they're going to do really great work for you. That's john-bunn.com/outsourcing. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.